Hello, my name is Maurie, and I'm here with my husband Jim. It is Sunday evening, and we are going to talk about artificial intelligence. That is something that we do every single Sunday evening, at least as long as we can. Yes, that is our dog in the background.
Clicky toes over there
That's okay.
is Maggie. She is so loud when she walks.
Honestly, we can hear her, but a lot of times when I listen to the recording, our audience doesn't hear the dogs.
Oh, they don't hear clicky toes?
No, clicky toes doesn't get heard.
I'm surprised.
So anyway, we talk about artificial intelligence on Sundays officially.
We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
We talk about it on Sundays, so you don't have to listen. You have to listen to it all the time. So,
I was about to say, when we first started doing the podcast, one of the things that I kind of joked about was that I didn't let you talk about artificial intelligence until I had my first cup of coffee. But
I've been doing that mostly.
I hate to tell you, you're getting out of the habit because I will feel you at about 6:15 sitting in the rocking chair.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to start bringing you coffee at 4:30 in the morning.
You would bring me coffee in bed?
4:30 in the morning.
Coffee in bed even at 4:30?
Okay, you're about to start getting coffee at 4:30 in the morning if you keep this up.
Okay, so what we're going to do today, we actually had several different guests that we had planned on having, but unfortunately we had a big family tragedy, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but we had to push some of those guests to some other times. So for tonight, we're going to go ahead and just cover some of the latest news and interesting things that have been happening with artificial intelligence.
Jim's various and sundry interests that he finds online. And the first one that I do like the Meta glasses. I've been talking to you about these things since they came out. They are a horrible invasion of privacy. That's why I want to get them for you and not me. But I think that Apple was started down this road and then they built those big clunky things that they made. I think this is the right way to go. If you're going to put AI into people's world and allow it to be truly useful, these things are the way to go.
I agree. There was a guy at one of the conferences I was at a couple of weeks ago, and he was a technology director, and everyone was giving him a hard time because he had on his little Ray-Ban Meta glasses, or maybe they just said Meta on the side, but they looked like a pair of Ray-Bans. They were these black glasses he had on, and they always, they kind of comment every so often, oh, be careful what you say, and he might be recording, or, oh, don't get close to him, he might be taking a photo.
But that's legit. When I used to go to Japan, in Japan at the time, because I worked with cell phone company over there. And at the time, it was illegal for you to take a picture with a device that didn't make a noise. The cell phones, they don't have a lens, but it was required to make a lens. Remember the old lens sound?
Like the capture.
You had to make that noise.
Yes.
If they're recording, there ought to be a little red LED light that's on their glasses.
True.
You should not have to wonder if a person staring at you is videoing you without your permission.
Why do you like Meta glasses?
I like the concept. If there wasn't so many scumbags and creepy weirdos out there, I like the concept of you, for example, being able to, you can look at the parking spot designator and you can say, remember where I parked. And then it'll help you find your parking spot so you don't get lost coming out of the mall. For just hypothetically,
I don't go to malls anymore. I don't spend your money.
What do you mean, my money? What does my money have to do with anything? I want that memory device. I wanted to remember these things. I want to look at something like when we were looking at that snake the other day, and I pulled my phone out to see what it was. I want to be able to ask the glasses. I see a snake in front of me. What is it? The downside. Again, it's one of those things, the privacy thing. The downside is there was a group of students who figured out how to make that thing use people's. I could look at you and it would search for you on Instagram, which is a Meta company. So and naturally they're going to make it work with Instagram.
Okay, so I have to put in there real quick. There is an Instagram that is public and there is an Instagram that is private. I have an Instagram account that is set to public, then I know that people are going to be able to find me on Instagram.
I know, but that doesn't mean they should be staring at you, looking you up on Instagram. You need to look up that word that I don't know what it is. That's what I was going to look up on your phone. You took it away from me. I thought doxing was when they called the police and said there's an emergency at the house. Turns out doxing is what these students were doing. No. I thought
It's swatting.
Swatting, that's the term. I thought that they were actually figured out a way to look at people and then have them look up on Instagram. Sort of like in the movie Iron Man when he was looking through his glasses and it puts a box around people with their names and stuff above it. Or like you see on security cameras when it says, draws a box around cars. They figured out how to do that using people's Instagram account. Good luck with them, by the way, finding my picture on Instagram.
I'm sorry.
I don't have one, but
if you're a company out there, you need to find out who these high school kids are.
These weren't high school kids. These were college.
You need to find out who these college kids are, and you need to hire them. Well,
they probably will get hired, but it is still, I mean, think about it. The glasses thing too, somebody's going to come to a gymnasium or, workout facility, and they're going to be using the glasses to record. So it's going to generally be about people being creepy around women.
10% is going to be bad. 90% is going to be good. Something your dad used to say all the time.
He changed that to 80-20.
As he got older?
As he got older, he changed it to 80-20. Moving on, I do like the Meta glasses. They're not that expensive. And
I have a feeling I know what I'm getting for Christmas.
It's possible.
Okay. So OpenAI has announced Canvas. Now, when I first saw the word Canvas, I immediately thought about, Blackboard, Canvas, the things that you use to turn in work in schools. But that's not what this is. OpenAI actually has a canvas now, literally like a blank slate, a blank canvas that they're using to put information on all at the same time.
It's built into ChatGPT Premium. And basically they're allowing you, to me, when I first saw it, it reminded me of Claude Artifacts, which I like. The thing that all of these tools have needed for a while is to move away from the just basic chat interface. The chat interface is nice. It's cool. I get it. But when you're trying to do something real with these tools, it's hard to stay organized. How many times have you and I sent a link to a thread in ChatGPT to each other, or shared it with you and I and Rachel when we're working on something together? The point of this is that you can do all kinds of things. You can write code in it. You can do incremental changes to pieces of something that it's generated.
Make little
notes. I think you can put images and stuff in it as well. I mean, I haven't explored it that much, but I like the idea of them improving the user interface of these tools. I think it's about time. I think that they've waited long enough, and I don't want it regenerating the entire document that or something I've been working on or whatever. So
we're going to do what Rachel always says, and we're going to put a pin in that and then come back to it later after you've had the opportunity to explore it a little bit more.
Yeah, but it was big news this week. Well, of course, maybe it was a slow news week.
Well, I'm thinking it might be something along the lines of it's just a better visual representation, literally like a project board.
Yes, that's what it is.
It's going to be a better
But
visual.
It's a shared one. You and I can share it.
It's a better
cool.
visual representation so that I'm not having to scroll back through the thread that you created and that you shared. So
yes,
Clicky Toes is headed back up the stairs.
Yeah, she's headed back up the stairs.
I think she's bored. Let's talk about California.
This is what I thought was interesting is you and I were in California twice in the last few months. The first time on vacation, the second time because we got asked to come back and speak at a school district. And we talked a lot about they had a lot of laws on the books or on the dockets.
They were working on them.
They were working on a lot. The big one was the one that got vetoed, yes. Senate Bill 1047.
Yes.
And I had read it. I don't remember it as well as I probably should, but it seemed reasonable when I first read it.
Well, I think the situation that happened, and I was actually reading about this week and last week. Yes, I do actually read about AI, not just you.
You read about it all the time.
There was a lot of stuff in it that was very dramatic, I guess is a good word for it. It was end of the world stuff, and we have to have a kill switch on it so that we can immediately turn it off. And it was a lot of stuff that was theoretical. This could happen, but it was not factual. It wasn't like it was like it was trying to predict the future and circumvent things that might happen in the future.
Well, every worst case scenario.
Every worst case scenario. And there were a lot of open letters written to the governor about,
this is a bad idea.
This is a bad idea. We don't need to make this a law. We need guidance, but not like this.
The one that got me the most, and again, this was somebody's interpretation of why it got killed, was they had said that the bill you were held responsible, not the person who used the model to do ugly things, but the people who made the model that got used. If that truly was worded that way, and I'll have to read it again,
open source would be gone.
It would kill the open source people. It would kill all of them, because there's no possible way that you can predict how people are going to use these models.
I agree.
And they can with the open source ones, they can fine tune the models to where it does something. They can jailbreak it because they've got the model sore. I mean, there's a lot of bad things people can do. That was a non-starter. I'm not surprised.
Think about the precedents that would cause. That means if I am in a certain make of a vehicle and I use that vehicle to run someone over, then you can sue the manufacturer of the vehicle because it was involved in the crime.
Well,
I mean, come on.
There's
lawyers, they like precedents like that.
Well, when I used to work as an apps engineer, I worked with a company that made traffic lights. And they made those big boxes that are on the poles by the traffic light. They took all information off of that box that identified them, the company that manufactured it.
They were CYA, huh?
They took them off because they said if there was an accident at that intersection, the first thing that the lawyers would do was write down every name they could find of anything on that intersection to include them in the lawsuit. It reduced the number of lawsuits. Wow. Even if it had nothing to do with that company. There was nothing wrong with the light. They still had to show up for court.
And that costs money.
The other one that was bad news for California was actually
a judge blocks a California AI law.
They call it AB, Assembly Bill, I think is what we decided it stood for. So, Assembly Bill 2839.
Yes.
It did pass. It was signed by the governor. And then one of the people who was using it for so-called satire, which I tried to look up this guy's definition of satire. I couldn't find the image that he supposedly generated of Kamala Harris, but he sued because I guess he got a takedown notice to tell him to take it down or whatever. And he sued saying that they're violating his First Amendment rights. And the judge agreed.
Because of political satire. And we were talking about that earlier. Political satire has been something that has been occurring since the beginning of politics. I mean,
there was probably political satire written on the walls of the Roman Empire.
It has been out there forever.
It
and
has.
If you are going to put yourself in a public facing environment, you're going to have to realize that things are going to be twisted by other people. When I taught a makerspace class, I used to talk about, taking photos of people, and you would actually have the person like stand a certain way and have a certain angle so that the flag behind the person looked a lot bigger. There's a famous photo of a George Bush Sr. standing in front of a fighter plane or a bomber that has a big flag on it. And the person who took the photo staged every single piece of that photo to look a very specific way. That was done manipulative. It was manipulative.
Yeah, I think that you and I have talked about it as well. Political cartoons are a form of satire, and they always exaggerate the face. George Bush Sr. had the big long chin. There's
the big hair.
Yeah, they're caricatures.
Yes.
So I kind of see where they're coming with this. I do, however, think that what people are calling political satire nowadays is just hate. In many cases, I think it's hate mongering.
Yes.
It doesn't look to me like that they're I thought satire was supposed to be not only educational but amusing. Like the one that I saw where George Bush, they were talking about, how much he had an umbrella over a pregnant woman's belly, and then the little kid was behind him in the rain getting wet. And they were poking fun at him because he was concerned. This was about abortion. This was in the early 90s, but this is about abortion and how they cared about the baby before it was born, but didn't care afterward. This was not a very nice cartoon.
But it was making a point.
And it did it in a political satire. Was supposed to be somewhat amusing.
But it was a drawing.
It was
and you could 100% tell
absolutely.
It wasn't factual.
I think that's a big difference too, I think.
So
that what they're calling satire that looks just like the person.
Exactly. So
that's a problem too.
I see, and if there's any politicians out there listening, here's what I think you should do. I think that you should say that you can be sued for doing a deep fake if there is not a certain percentage of the image that you have generated that is, in fact, not noticeably fake.
I think you should have to label it.
Well, that
you
too.
cannot publish print, or it has to be watermarked, and you cannot remove that watermark that says this was generated by AI. To me, I think, and they've talked about that, and yes, somebody could remove it, but when they do remove it,
they're the ones that are getting in trouble.
Not only are they going to get in trouble, but anybody who reposts it could get in trouble.
Right.
So I think that would take away the credibility of these people like this so-called satire guy, that they would be a little more careful about what they put out there,
right.
and they'd be a little more careful about whether or not they labeled it, because they knew they could be held liable. You're not liable. You can do whatever you want as long as it says AI on it, because you generated it with AI.
Right.
Then you're going to get into a percentage problem, yada, yada, yada.
Well, it's kind of like whenever we get something in the mail that looks like a bill, and you have to really, really look at the fine print.
You just got one of those.
Yeah, you have to really look at the fine print.
You're about to get canceled, or you're overdue or something.
Mm-hmm. And this at the very bottom, it says this is an advertisement, or
at least it says it, but it wasted some of your time.
So let's talk about some of the random stuff that's been going on with artificial intelligence.
Well, my random thoughts that I put into this, there was a lot of things that happened. There was a lot of updates that happened this week, the last couple of weeks. Companies came out with, not only the big guys, but the little guys, the image generation people, they all came out with something. Well, it's been a couple of weeks, but Meta released an update to their open source Llama series, which I've been using 3.1. They came out with 3.2. It's supposed to be better. My question to you that started after you had a cup of coffee this morning was...
I don't remember having a cup of coffee this morning.
I remember you were making it while I was telling you. Does anyone actually care? The whole point of... even the Agnes, the thing we're working on, I have the thing that the teachers have access to right now in our Trailblazer program.
Yes.
It has a Llama 3.1. It has Llama 3.1 available as one of the options in the dropdown. Because what if OpenAI is offline, or token usage or whatever? I put that in there, but at the same time, my question, I put it in there thinking about privacy mostly. And does anybody care about privacy anymore? Do they care enough that it's using these models is going to be worth it in the long term?
So yes, we had the conversation, and I will tell you exactly what I told you this morning after apparently I had my first cup of coffee.
You were sipping on it.
Is that no. People right now they care. Right now they care. And
at least we're having the conversations.
Privacy. We're having the conversations that we should have had a long time ago.
Yes.
And maybe there will be something that comes from this. Maybe there will be some litigation. Maybe there will be something that happens that causes some change.
They tighten it up in Europe even more.
They might tighten it up some more in the United States. But when it comes right down to it, people tend to forget what they are concerned about today.
What is that movie? That thing in the movie? Today's news is tomorrow's birdcage liner.
Yeah.
That was in that movie, Notting Hill.
Notting Hill.
Except is that still the case?
I don't think so.
Now it's more about attention span.
I don't think so. One of the books that I'm working on writing is called Echoes of Us. And it's basically about how a long time ago, the echoes of us, they faded over time. They went away over time. They did become the liner in the bird cage, or you did wrap your fish in them or whatever. Whereas now those echoes of us are permanent.
And they get brought back up, and a little time slice brought back up.
They're always there. Yes, we do need to think about it. But when it comes right down to it, I don't think the generation of today is concerned with privacy, because they have been raised without it. Everything they do is public. They post it freely for public consumption.
They live stream themselves doing everything in their house.
Everything.
I know.
And
if you're not paying for the product, then you are the product.
Or they're addicted to that recognition of their life. We were talking about insurance companies and the things that people are putting into their automobiles.
I just can't do that. Even for cheaper insurance.
It is a generational
But eventually,
thing.
It's going to be required. They're not going to let you cannot opt out. The insurance companies, it's so successful now, and they make the argument that everybody loves to hear. Well, you deserve to, if we know rates. You deserve cheaper rates because you're a better driver. Yeah. What people don't realize is they're not just seeing whether or not your driving safer, they look at every piece of statistic. So if you happen to brake a little harder than somebody else does, your insurance rates will go up. If you happen to take corners a little faster than statistically the people who don't have, then your insurance rates will go up.
Can I just say something?
You're in
I'm
trouble.
screwed.
You are so in trouble. Yeah, I know. What did my dad used to say? Toenails in the. When I fixed your car, I had to take the toenails out of the carburetor. Is what he used to say, which people don't know what that means.
No, they don't know.
Basically, it means you keep you slam it to the floor between stop signs and slam on your brakes and that kind of stuff.
Quick takeoffs.
Anyway, so
let's talk about this though. I mean, we were talking about the election. We're talking about privacy. We're talking about deepfakes. I've been very surprised at the lack of deepfake political ads that we've been seeing or hearing about.
Either they're just not talking about them, or people just maybe they're not good enough yet. One of the theories that I had is that the best deepfakes are videos, and the video quality for deepfakes isn't there yet. It's getting better, but it's not there readily available for everybody. Now, I just read that the company that does TikTok, they've got their own algorithm now to generate 20 second videos that are supposedly extremely good. That's going to make it readily available to people who might not have had access to those kind of tools because they might not have known how to use them. Mm-hmm. So I suspect that this could get worse, but right now it seems surprisingly good.
What I'm saying is that they're already out there and we just don't know.
Or people aren't paying attention.
So good that we're just assuming that they're correct.
And before we wrap up this thought on this particular topic, the thing that saddens me is this technology to me is exciting because it allows us to interact with technology in a way that I think it should have always been. And I think it's got the potential to be a huge leap forward for us. And what are we using it for? Deepfakes, chaos, nudity. I mean, it's like the worst of the worst. And that's why I do what I do when I'm searching through the news. I'm always looking for things that are good to do with it because, sometimes the bad, if you're not careful, it gets so much press, it drowns out the good. And
Feeding the Wrong Wolf.
Wolf.
I love that movie.
Oh, hold on. Tomorrowland.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite movies, and I got it. I always get the name wrong.
So in education, real quick, Microsoft is moving full steam ahead with the AI PC, and they're making the recall feature available again. You just explained to me what the recall feature is. It's basically that it records everything that I do.
It is literally allows you to play back your entire day. The idea being that your AI can't help you if your AI doesn't know what you're doing. So if you've got something on your screen and you ask a question about it or whatever, it allows you to then basically categorizes and catalogs it all. So now you can say, when did I look at that picture of, and it'll find it for you. That sounds good in theory.
It does, actually.
But
I know I sent an email about this subject and I cannot remember who I sent it to.
Yes.
Yeah.
The problem is that Microsoft is going to make it optional for a regular user. And that's great. Maybe it's very handy for you sitting at home. What happens with a company, because I'm an IT director, I can turn that feature on and not let you turn it off unless Microsoft makes it to where I can't push a policy out, which they've never done before.
Well, they're just going to say that the company owns the hardware.
They own the hardware. They own the software. So just don't do anything on it. No one spends every single minute of every day looking at only work-related stuff, and they shouldn't have to. Give me a break. We're not robots. But the thing that, from a school district perspective, and why I put this under education is, we are already getting PI requests for people on fishing expeditions to try to sue the school because they want to prove that some teacher made some comment about their kid. And so you just went through piles of these things trying to figure out, on
emails, back and
emails,
forth,
all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If the day this becomes required to be turned on so it can be available for PI requests is the day I get rid of Microsoft operating systems on all of our boxes, which I may do anyway. I don't have enough people. I can't handle the load.
Right.
Even if AI is helping me find stuff, it's still going to be time consuming. I can't handle the load. Unless they're going to let me hire 3 more people, which isn't going to happen. Mm-hmm. So far, there hasn't been any discussions about it. But if the lawyers get a hold of it and they start saying, it'll always start with special ed. If you're a special ed teacher, that means they'll want us to turn it on for them.
Right.
And then it'll slowly but surely trickle outward.
Yeah.
Final note.
Well, I mean, it's a sad note. We did not do this last Sunday because we lost your father.
We had a guest. We had a guest that was supposed to be on.
Had a guest that was supposed to be on. It was not an unexpected thing.
It's always unexpected, but not.
Right. Yeah. Thankfully, he had planned a lot, and so it was a lot easier on us for afterwards getting all the plans done and everything.
It was still a lot to do, and you did a lot
to do, and I did it because that's how I deal with things. I deal with things by jumping in and giving me a checklist and checking things off, and that's how I
keeps you focused.
Keeps me focused. But we were having a conversation about how we individually used artificial intelligence in that situation,
or not.
And I thought it was really interesting because one of the things that we are about to do is we are about to go present on Tuesday. I'm doing a keynote at Texas State University about redefining education, K-12 specifically, and how AI is going to help redefine that. And when I was sitting in the funeral home trying to do stuff and kind of plan stuff, the lady I was sitting there with, very, very nice lady, she pulled up an AI and she said, let's talk about your father-in-law and let's see what AI can do with the obituary. Now, she gave me the option.
Well, it also doesn't have to be the final say. You can choose. It's that ability to choose. She
asked me, she said, do you want to write the obituary yourself or do you want us to help? And because my mind was in all sorts of different directions.
Well, emotionally, you were you were tired. Yes. There was a lot of emotions going on. It was really hard to focus.
And it helped me focus.
Yes.
And then I took it, I rewrote it, I changed a few things, I tweaked a few things, and it really gave me that starting point.
Yes.
Versus you decided that you were going to write the eulogy.
Yeah, I've got that. I've always said I have issues processing strong emotion. I always have. And I kind of do it in pieces. Maybe everybody does, but I kind of do it in pieces. But I've always done it by doing something.
Right.
And in this case, I told you I'd write the eulogy, but I never realized how therapeutic it could be to write something like that. I didn't even use the AI. Not a single word was written by an AI. It was all written by me. And it was based on my own memories and my own thoughts. And I had several drafts of it. But the act of doing that was extremely therapeutic for me. And when it was all said and done, I think it turned out pretty well.
It did.
And I didn't use AI. I didn't want to use it. But the point is, we're having to reassess. And I thought about this a lot this last week. We're having to reassess, what does it mean to be human in a world with AI? So I wrote a Medium article, which I'm going to get you to help me get published. I wrote a Medium article about what does that mean to be a human in the world of AI? And you have to decide, and you can choose which pieces of the AI benefit you. One of the things that I told you about that I want to do, and I still want to do it, is I would like to create an image, which I'm incapable of doing, because when we're at the graveside, there was this old caretaker. He takes care of that place, and he was, walking through and talking this place. He loved this place. And so I wanted to generate an AI image of the view and him walking away from me, because it was, if I was an artist, I would draw it because it was a very strong image in my mind. It was a beautiful image. And
you can't get that image out of your mind.
I cannot get it out of my mind, but
own means.
I can't draw. I mean, I can barely draw stick figures. So that's when I'm going to use the AI, is to do that, because at some point I'm going to give it to my mom.
You're going to enhance your creativity by using an artificial intelligence.
And I'm going to choose. And you're just like you chose which pieces you use.
Correct.
Going forward, we have a little bit more that we're going to be doing. We've got a sysadmin conference coming up
in November. Then we're going to be, I've almost taught myself into getting on a plane again and going to New York.
Well, it is an award.
It's an award that I'm getting for being an innovative system administrator through tech and learning. And it's also an opportunity for us to go to Jersey City and go into New York City.
Well, that's some kind of like a science museum or something. I just want to go for that.
I think it'd be interesting for us to be able to go for a few days just to have a little bit of a vacation / see some interesting things.
And New York is cool in December. I mean, not cool. It's cool temperature-wise, but also if we have the time I don't know if they'll have all the Christmas stuff
They
up.
won't have. They'll have
But
Christmas
some of it'll be
decorations
up.
but the big
tree
tree
won't be up.
yet and stuff.
No.
But it still would be an interesting thing.
Yes.
I've been all around New York, but I've never actually gone into downtown.
So SysAdmin
we'll
Conference, then
SysAdmin.
that, and then of course you're still doing the Trailblazer program, which kind of got paused a little bit.
Just last week,
We're gonna hit that hard.
last week. I'm looking forward to being there with my ladies. My ladies were so sweet. They texted me and they sent flowers.
They like your Trailblazer program.
All right. We are out of time. We are going to take our clicky-toed dog and head to bed now.
Yes.
My name is Maurie, and I'm here with my husband, Jim. It is Sunday evening, and we love talking about artificial intelligence. And we hope that you guys have a marvelous rest of the week.